this is considered a representation of our universe. And I'll explain that in more depth when we come back after these messages. Don't go anywhere. You're listening to What on Earth is Happening here on the Oracle Broadcasting Network. We'll be right back, folks.
Frozen in silence, facing it alone. Gotta keep my cool, make them think I'm made of stone.
Welcome back, folks. This is What on Earth is Happening on the Oracle Broadcasting Network. I'm your host, Mark Passio, my website, whatonearthishappening.com. We're looking at the subversive symbolism of the Hypercube today, what I termed the ultimate symbol of the dark occult. For a very specific reason, if we understand what the Hypercube represents, it epitomizes the worldview of the dark occultists and the way that they see themselves in relation to the world, the way they see the world at all. Okay? So we're going to get into this right now. We were looking at the animation of the Hypercube in image number 5 on the radio show tab of my website. We're going to move on to image number 6, which is another animation showing the rotation of a hypercube. A hypercube is also known as a tesseract. T-E-S-S-E-R-A-C-T, tesseract. And this is a general mathematical construct. You can look this up on any web page that deals with higher dimensional math. But this image will show you the rotation of the hypercube from a front angle. So I thought this was a nice complementary to the original animation and included it here. So you can see that the rotation is never ending. And if we looked at this in, let's say, circular terms, or instead of straight lines, smooth arcs, it would look like a tube torus. Okay? So if you're familiar with the shape of the tube torus that continuously rotates in on itself, that's really what we're seeing here, only with a little bit more, it's a little bit more crudely drawn with straight lines. Okay, so the hypercube, the 4D cube, representing a continuously rotating box. Now, what does this mean in occult terms? Well, let's look at image number 7. Now, what I've done here on this image is show people the 3-dimensional representation of the 4-dimensional object known as the hypercube or tesseract on the left, in blue there. Okay? On the right-hand side, you see in red a 2-dimensional projection of the hypercube, of a 4-dimensional object. Okay? You'll notice on the left-hand side that what the hypercube basically looks like, all right, is from every side a pyramid with its capstone missing or cut off. And if we take each one of the 6 sides of that cube to be a pyramid with a square base, we see that all of the apexes of the pyramid that happen to be cut off or missing form the small cube in the middle. Okay, so the outer box is formed by the shape that represents the pyramid with the capstone cut off, which we talked about extensively on this show and past shows, all converging to form one solid cube in the middle. Now, what does that mean? What does it symbolically represent? The hypercube, as the symbol of the dark occult, represents mind control. It is the symbol of mind control. As we will see on the show today, it is heavily at work in every aspect of trying to shut down human consciousness and keep it in the limited state where it is at currently. The occultists see, the dark occultists, I should say, see the entire physical universe as a never-ending prison for spirit, for the soul, in other words. They see this place as a prison because it is governed by laws, by natural law. Dark occultists do not want to have any laws governing their conduct. They want to be able to do whatever they want with no repercussions in the form of higher law. In other words, they wish to be the creator of the universe, or quite simply, they want to be God. It's not, they don't have an integral view that everything is one, it is all governed by higher law, that higher law is here for our evolutionary growth and development, and so that we can always have the highest vision of ourselves and the world that we want to live in, that we set forth at any given time, provided we simply continue to observe the parameters and respect the boundaries of natural law. We are bound by that higher law, whether we want to be or not, even the dark occultists. They have methods for subtly subverting this and doing end runs around it because they get other people to do the things that they actually want done. You notice they never do it themselves. A caller called in a couple of weeks ago and said, how do they get around the karmic consequences of their actions? And my answer was simple. They don't take the actions. They get someone else who's too stupid to see what they're being really asked to do it for them. And we're going to talk a lot about those people here today. Unread people who don't understand one thing about what's really happening in the world, following orders that are completely outside the bounds of natural law and thinking they have a right to do what they're doing. When they don't, they never have and they never will have those rights. They're delusional people. So, going back to the dark occultist worldview as it relates with the symbol of the hypercube, the inner cube represents the prison of mind because it is formed by the intersection of all pyramids with the capstone missing. Their symbol of the stone, the pyramid made of stone, and the stone, the builders being the dark occultists, the dark creators of reality. Okay? The stone that they reject is the all-seeing eye, or the true capstone, the true pyramidion, the all-seeing eye, the awakened self, true knowledge of the higher self is what that represents. The triangle with the eye in the middle of it with light radiating out of it, as we covered on the last couple of shows. So, the inner cube represents mind control, the prison that the mind is held in through erroneous beliefs that can be continuously fed to it, to the mind, like a drug, like a poison, a slow drip poison. The outer cube represents the physical universe, hence the base matter, because it forms the base of all the pyramids, which they consider not to be part of them, that we are not just one, that the physical and the spiritual doesn't exist here simultaneously. They consider everything separate from everything else. I'm separate from you, you're separate from me, I'm separate from the military and police, everybody is separate from each other, we are all separate from the earth, we are all separate from the physical world and from the universe. That is their general worldview. They know that there's a spiritual dimension and reality that underlies everything, and they reject it. Hence, the rejection of the capstone. The stone the builders rejected. The reality is the spiritual and physical worlds are intertwined. There is no separation between them. It's a product of diseased thinking and separation thinking to think that anything is separate, including the physical world. Even religionists think this way. They think God exists outside of the natural world, and we are simply living in this other reality that is separate from God. And our goal is to reconnect to the true spiritual realm by rejecting the physical realm. And this is just as diseased thinking. It's duality thinking. Dual consciousness, which will only ever get you more suffering